In Philippines, Cape Town, this 2-hectare agricultural enterprise relies entirely on heavy physical manual labor to function day to day. Evidently Green and Evidently Fresh operate a dual model system. One half manufactures compost, while the other manages a regional fresh vegetable delivery service. Maintaining the physical output of this operation requires a heavy capital input, specifically a monthly wage bill running between 80 to 100,000 rand. This financial waterfall chart tracks the enterprise's performance for the year ending February 2025. After deducting the cost of sales and operating expenses from 338,000 rand in revenue, the operation secures a net profit of 154,000 rand. On paper, this is a functioning business. The relationship between the capital deployed, the labor utilized, and the output generated registers as standard and stable for a South African SME. But a balance sheet only measures clear transactions. It provides no visibility into the actual physical and psychological condition of the human infrastructure executing the work. In Philippines, the historical legacy of the DOP system, where laborers were partially paid in alcohol, has left a deep systemic imprint. Alcoholism remains a severe, inherited condition across the local workforce. The capital injected into the community does not automatically stabilize it. A significant percentage of that 100,000 rand monthly wage bill bypasses household development and converts directly into the local alcohol economy. The operational toll on the business is immediate. Every Monday, mandatory breathalyzer tests result in 3 to 4 workers being sent home, crippling the labor-intensive production schedule. This systems map illustrates the intended economic cycle. Capital and labor flow into farm operations, but the labor output vector is fractured. When workers miss shifts, capital leaks out. The enterprise pays for capacity it cannot utilize, draining resources into systemic friction. Traditional management techniques struggle to patch a hole this deep. When the labor pool is compromised by systemic addiction, the business must either pivot toward mechanical automation or construct the infrastructure to rehabilitate its workers. The pressure on the internal system is compounded by the external logistics of the vegetable delivery arm, managed by Luca Collins. Delivering fresh produce requires strict adherence to timelines, but Cape Town's highway traffic acts as a massive external friction point, stripping hours from the schedule. That external delay crashes into an internal fragility. Inventory management currently relies on verbal instructions and memory, expecting workers to accurately track, for example, 70 heads of cabbage through spoken commands alone. Relying on verbal trust within an environment already destabilized by substance abuse introduces a risk of human error and inventory shrinkage. To protect the operation, the enterprise deployed the Google platform, specifically Gemini, to automate the logistical routing, process invoicing, and formalize stock taking. Management then integrated Notebook LM to construct an internal knowledge base. Workers can now query the system for specific tasks instead of waiting for erratic verbal directives. This structural diagram maps out the solution. A logistical AI layer slides directly between management and operations, catching chaotic spoken instructions and converting them into structured, trackable digital records. The AI integration acts as a defensive firewall. It prevents logistical collapse, providing the management team with the operational bandwidth required to address the actual crisis of workforce addiction. Rehabilitating a workforce requires capital. But a commercial farm cannot simply redirect corporate profits into medical treatment for its own employees without triggering severe tax liabilities and violating fiduciary duties. The solution requires a separate legal counterweight. The Ubuntu Addiction Community Trust, or UACT, formally established in 2007. UACT is registered as a Section 18A public benefit organization. This classification allows it to receive corporate capital as tax-deductible donations, legally shielding the funds. To ensure strict compliance with the Master of the High Court, the trust engaged KPMG to handle PBO registration, embedding professional oversight into the architecture. This gauge illustrates the 75% distribution rule, formalized in the trust's 2012 Deed of Amendment. It mandates that at least 75% of the trust's net regnin must be actively deployed to beneficiaries within 12 months. The legal boundaries are absolute. The trust is strictly prohibited from engaging in speculative trading, and founders like David Collins are legally barred from deriving direct monetary advantage from the capital. By routing corporate surplus through a Section 18A PBO, The farm creates a compliant stream of tax-efficient recovery capital, providing a sustainable way to fund community development. With the legal funding secured, the micro-execution of the treatment is handed over to certified recovery and wellness coaches. This creates an immediate conflict of interest. A for-profit farm is now directly financing the addiction treatment of the exact labor force it relies on for production. To neutralize this conflict, all practitioners must sign the UACT Code of Ethics, a standard adopted by professionals like Bongiwe and Gobese. Section 4 of this code explicitly forbids financial exploitation. Coaches cannot promote commercial products or accept outside remuneration that impairs the service relationship's integrity. Section 9 enforces mandatory confidentiality. The clinical progress, setbacks, and treatment history of the workers cannot be shared with their employer without written consent. This split-screen diagram details the required separation of powers. Farm management retains access only to HR data like payroll and scheduling, while UACT strictly controls all medical and clinical recovery data behind an impenetrable ethical wall. To safely rehabilitate its own labor pool, a commercial enterprise must deliberately and legally blind itself to the medical data of its workers. These separate mechanisms, operational, legal, and ethical, do not function in isolation. They are designed to interlock. The AI layer serves as the operational shield, absorbing logistical friction and preventing the delivery network from collapsing during periods of severe workforce instability. The Section 18A Trust operates as the capital capture vessel, extracting farm profits tax efficiently under the oversight of SARS and KPMG. The recovery coaches act as the mechanism of change, deploying that capital directly into the workforce while bound by strict ethical firewalls. This systems map tracks the completed cycle. Capital moves from farm profit to the 18A Trust, funds rehabilitation, creates a healthy workforce, and feeds back into stabilized output. Looking closely at the labor node, the fractures heal. As absenteeism drops and shifts stabilize, the leak is sealed. Replacing laborers with machinery solves the immediate production problem, but it permanently isolates the community from the economy. Rehabilitation restores both. Operating in a compromised environment demands a dual strategy. Resilience is found where hard operational AI meets a rigorous, legally binding social infrastructure.